Welcome back to E39 Source. This is Ryan Schultz on the 2000 M5. Today we're going to be diagnosing fluid leaks, more importantly washer fluid leaks. I got this car back from a full and total engine and driveline and suspension rebuild a couple of days ago, about 10 days now. And I had one fluid leak, which I was concerned it was coolant originally, but it turned out to be washer fluid. So we're diagnosing leaks behind the front right, or the passenger wheel, coming from this underpan, this plastic tray that lives under there. The washer fluid reservoir is actually right behind the fender. So today we're just going to show you how to open that up, determine what gasket or pump is leaking, see if you've got a cracked reservoir. Really there's 2 points of failure, or 2 areas of failure on the washer system on this car. The one is either going to be the hose under the hood. They're pretty complicated. There's a lot of hoses under the hood. So you're either going to have cracked hoses here. It comes up actually under all of this ducting. You can take all of this ductwork out, the bottom cabin air filter box, and the hose comes up kind of through the firewall area there. And then it splits off into this hose here. The stuff gets really brittle and old and cracked, and then it turns into a bunch of hoses that eventually get to your washer jets. So it's decently complicated through there. That's your first point of failure. Your second point of failure is somewhere down here around the reservoir. So step one is going to be to loosen the lugs in this front right wheel. They're 17mm lugs, and as you can see, you should have the parking brake on, your car in park and or in gear. So you are able to do that. Then, seeing that this is an M5, it's decently low and has a M5 bumper, I need to drive the car up on some wood. That gives me then the clearance to put this jack under to get to the center jack point. The center jack point is the center of the front subframe. So we're going to jack it up by this front subframe and then use jack stands on the front lift points to hold the car. So we're going to do that, get that wheel off, and then get a look at the fender liner and what needs to happen under there. We've got the car's weight safely supported by a jack under each front lift point and or a jack stand, and then the jack itself is still holding some of the weight on the bottom of the front subframe. There's a little cutout there. You'll see where it goes. You pull the wheel off, and the next thing we need to do is remove the fender liner. Really, it's a bunch of 8mm. Sorry, this is so dirty in here. It's a car. So 8mm, 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 8mm. There's one up here, top in the center. There's another one over here. There's 2 here, and then depending on your car, sometimes these are just a plastic clip, sometimes they're another 8mm. Mine's a plastic clip. And then you've got a plastic pop rivet here, and underneath I do think you need to remove one of those quarter turn Phillips. And then the fender liner itself is going to pop out. There's also 3, and unfortunately these are one-use clips right here. I will put the part number in the description below. You'll need to buy 3 of those. They're about 40 cents a piece that clip into the rocker panel and then 2 into the fender. So I'm going to undo all that fastening hardware, and then we're going to pull the fender liner out of here. So there's a total of 11 8mm nuts with washers, or bolts with washers, and then there's 3 one-time use. We have the Phillips screw that is the transmission cover. We have a plastic normal BMW expanding rivet back there, and then the one up here. So that comes out, and we get a little tour of things in here. Now your washer fluid reservoir will be right here. I took mine out a week ago in this diagnosis process, and this is it. Now for cars that have the headlight washers, all US spec E93, E39 M5s came with headlight washers. It's got a lot going on here. So the pump that's in there right now in the center is the headlight, or is the windshield washer fluid pump. And that's what was leaking on mine. It goes into a grommet and a filter and then into the plastic reservoir. The one on the left, which is just a grommet right now, is the larger pump, different part number pump, that would pump fluid for your headlight washers. Now I have deleted the headlight washers on this car completely. So I've removed the pump. I'm going to just mask off the electrical connection for the pump. And then I have filled the existing grommet with a waterproof silicone. So hopefully that is watertight. But this is the new pump that I already replaced. There's a grommet at the bottom of that pump, just like there is over here. Mine was dried out, and it would go in and out really easily. It was not creating a watertight seal. The new one that I bought from ECS Tuning for a total of $2 with the filter was very difficult to press in, and it's clear to me that that is going to have a much better chance of being watertight. Over on the right, this is the level sensor. If you have water or washer fluid leaking out of there, I would replace your level sensor and or the gasket. This right here is where your feed hose from the port under the hood is going to fill up. This is the hose when you pour fluid under the hood and it comes down into the reservoir, it comes through here. There is a gasket in there that could go bad, so if you're leaking from there, it's probably that gasket. We already talked about the windshield washer fluid, we already talked about that one, and the only other hole in this thing is a vent valve up at the top, and you don't even have fluid up there, so it's not going to leak from there. Now you could experience a broken reservoir. This is the original. I semi-pressure tested it and it's fine. I don't think this is going to be a problem at all. So the reservoir comes in and out very easily. It has this prong on the back side of it that fits into that hole right there, so you can't really put it in the wrong way. It fits in like that, and then it's held in by two black plastic 10mm nuts. One there and one there. They are reusable parts. I have new ones, but I don't care. I don't worry about aesthetics on this stuff, so I'm just going to put the old ones back on. I'm going to hook everything up. I'm going to mask off the connector for the headlight washer fluid pump that I will never use again. I'm going to fill it up and leak test before I put everything back together. So I installed the reservoir and hooked everything up, and it's now orange with Rain-X washer fluid that will be in there for likely the next 8 to 10 years because I never even use this system. But the points you want to check that are dry are the feed filler from the engine bay, the level sensor, the windshield washer fluid pump, and the headlight washer fluid pump. You can also check your vent, but as you can see, even when it's totally full, all of that is just air. A note about the vent: since I've completely deleted the headlight washers, that pump lift here, here's the cable. I'm just going to mask the top of it off and then zip tie it to that hose. It had a hose that would come out of it here, come up in this groove, and then it was clipped up here in the fender well all the way around, and then it went back down behind your front bumper. So I just cut that hose out completely. It is totally gone. And then leave the vent hose up there in those same clips. So that's the procedure if you're deleting that, but probably many of you are not. So now I would give it a couple of minutes, bang on the tank a little bit, simulate some bumps on the road, and get an iPhone light in here or something and make sure that it is dry before replacing your fender liner. It's also a great time to, if you're so inclined, degrease or clean anything up. Get a look at your brake lines here running to the rear. Really just get a general look for maintenance, inspect your suspension and brake components, check your brake pads or your brake rotors and your brake pads see how much life is left. Mine got wet, so now they're rusty and need to be driven. But really I'm about done here. I'm going to put the fender liner back in, hook everything up, torque the wheel down to 89 foot-pounds, pressure test functionality, then we're done. Alright, I've got the fender liner back up in here. It's a little hard to get started. Once you get it in there, try to press the lip of it in around the curvature of the fender, and that'll kind of claw hold into the fender itself, and then you're going to be able to just get some of the bolts in. But I did end up replacing the 3 one-time use clips, and really that's it. Everything else went back together really well. So we have no warning light on the dash now. I've been driving this car for a week with no reservoir and pump in there because I got tired of the leak, and it seems to be dry. I'll keep an eye under the car for the next couple of days. But generally those gaskets just dry out, those grommets where the pumps seat into the reservoir, and they'll just need to be replaced. And fun fact, the windshield washer pump is actually the same pump that lives up here under the hood with possibly the same grommet, although this one doesn't have a filter on it. So in a pinch, if you really had to have that pump, you could steal the one, you could rob the one here under the hood. But for now, we're done. I'll keep an eye on that. But I don't expect any leaking. So I'm going to put that wheel back on, as I said, about 89 pound-feet of torque for the lugs. Then we can lower the car and we're all set. Not a bad DIY at all. You just need the proper equipment to get the car up off the ground safely for a little bit of time while you pull that fender liner. Spend some time down there with a flashlight. None of the parts are really particularly expensive unless you're reservoir itself is cracked, in which case I think it's around $100. I really don't see how that can happen unless you drive over something that punctures the fender liner and the reservoir, or your car's been in a bad enough accident to damage those components. But otherwise, we're all done and cleaned up now. I do have a part 3 update of this video of this car coming. It's got about 512 miles on this engine or so. So it's been very exciting, and learning to drive this car again has been absolutely amazing. And now it is leak-free and code on the dash free, check control. It's been complaining about washer level ever since I got it back, so now that is fixed. Alright guys, thanks so much for watching. Look for part 3, hopefully here sometime around Timmy Fest, coming up in less than a week in Columbus, Ohio, so we're excited about that. I'll talk to you in a future video. Thanks so much guys, bye.